Hi and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to build a Google Cloud Platform Kubernetes cluster that's set up as a private cluster for the additional control and security you can have with that. I'm going to show you how to set up the cloud NATing so you can pull images directly from internet, which will help us with the installation of Istio instead of creating a manifest, downloading the images, pushing them to your repo, and then updating the manifest to pull from your repo, which is error prone and is really annoying. And if you want to do updates later, you want to make changes, then you have to go back in, create a new manifest and all that. All right. I'm also going to show you how to set up the firewall rules for your private cluster so that the sidecar injection on Istio works. If you don't do this correctly, you will see your deployments show up, but the sidecar will not be added, so you won't get any pods running. All right, so you can name your cluster anything, basically. It doesn't really matter. I have already created one, but I will show you the settings here. So I will take a regional one. I'll put it in the region Europe West 2 because it's close to me. I'll use a release channel. The newest one here is for the regular channel is 1.15. This came out this week, I think. I'll put up 2 nodes here. That's enough for this purpose. The machines are also fine. The VPC is important here because we're going to set up the cloud router or cloud NATing router on our default network. So if you created your own, make sure you have set a node subnet for that region that you are going to use. If it's not Europe 2, or maybe you use US West 1, 2, whatever, you need to have the node subnet set up. This is mandatory. I will leave these ranges as they are. They are fine for this purpose. I will activate the private cluster. I will also add this here, which is the authorized network. And I have taken the IP address from the terminal. This will be the only IP address that can reach the cluster externally. So cluster access cloud shell, actually no spaces here. There we go. And then you add that. We'll leave this one. Actually, we can leave all the other settings all the way down. You can have Stackdriver enable if you want. You can do other settings, but if you're going to use the latest Istio, please do not enable this one. It's an older version than 1.4. And then we press create. And I'll show you on the other cluster in just a second. All right, so here is the cluster I created previously. It's basically the same. It's a different name, but same IP address, same settings everywhere. And we go and connect to it. Let's run that in our Cloud Shell. So we authorize here. And now if we go and do get nodes, or sorry, cube ctl get nodes. I forgot I don't have the alias for that. You can see the nodes here. If we hadn't set the master IP or the access IP, we would only have an error that it timed out, but now we can see the nodes are up and running. All right, the next step here is to get Istio installed. But in order to do this, we have to pull the images, or the Istio controller. Sorry, please go away. And we paste it in here. All right, and then we cd into Istio bin, where we have the Istio CTL. But in order for this to work, for the demo manifest that we're going to run, this is the part where I told you about the images needed to be pulled, because if you have Istio, you can use Istio generate manifest or manifest generate with this demo profile and then update it. I won't do that here. You might have tried that earlier if you wanted a customized setting. All right, so before we run this command here, we are going to go over and set up the network settings for the cloud NATing. All right, let's get started. We can call this anything. Cloud router is fine. we're going to use the default network. Here you should set the same region as you had previously. So I set this cluster to be on Europe West 2. We need a cloud router for this to work. We don't have one, so just put one in here. It's now, you see, the default network, and for Europe West 2, which is London, and then we press create. And we can leave this primary and secondary range for all subnets. That's fine. It will just mean that we have access to internet from all our nodes. That will allow the pods to get internet access and pull the images. I would like a manual IP address. This is a good way to get a static egress IP address, which is also not explained very well. But basically, if you have this set up, all your traffic outgoing will go through this IP address. And so we can note this down, and I will show you later when we spawn up a container and try and access the internet again with the same command. Okay, so we press create here. Now, as soon as this one is done, we will be able to get to... Also, for the sidecar injection that I told you about earlier, we need to enable another port. Istio uses port 443, but 9443. So in order for it to reach or wrap your containers with a sidecar, we need to go in here, we need to edit this, and we need to add that port, so 9443. I can't remember where I found this, but it was somewhere on a forum way down after a long time of searching. As soon as you set this, your sidecars will be able to wrap your containers, so don't forget this part. All right, that means we're ready to install this. Let's now do a quick installation where we just run the demo profile, and we wait for this here to finalize. And then, all right, and it's just about set up. Okay, so kubectl get namespaces. We can now see that the Istio system is here. I forgot to show you before, but if you do the /istio ctl and version, version, then you will see that the control plane is version 1.4.4. That means that your Kubernetes cluster is now running that version. If this didn't say anything and said none, then it would not be installed correctly. We can do kubectl get pods from namespace istio system. If I -n, sorry. There we go. And we can see it's still creating the containers, the sidecar injector, so we can't run anything else until this is done. All right, I'm gonna clear this. And then let's spin up a pod in a namespace. All right, so let's make a new namespace. Let's call it web. So kubectl create namespace web, and let's see, let's have this command because we need to make a namespace, and then we need to add, let's see here, the label for Istio to inject. We do web. All right, so kubectl describe namespace web. You can see the label here. This means that now Istio will inject the sidecar on top of that. Let's make sure that the pods are up and running. Yep. Okay, everything looks good there. Actually, kubectl. This is a deprecated command, but it still works, so we can use it. And we can call it my web server. Let's use the image of Nginx. Let's put it in the web namespace. All right, let's go back. Oh, that's the old command. Let's check the web namespace, and we can see it is up and running. Okay, we can see the pod is running. To access this externally, you would also have to set up a virtual service. I won't do that here, it's out of the scope of the video. However, we are going to connect to the machine and curl to see that the IP address we are getting is actually the ones that we have set up in our cloud router. So if we click here, when we curl outwards, we should be able to use, in our cloud router. So when we curl outwards, this should be the IP that shows up from our pods. Okay, so let me let me log into the pod really quick here, and let's see what we can do. So clear here. All right, let's do an apt install curl because we don't have it. And yes. And as soon as this finish, we clear. Then we curl the API of fy.org. And now we see the outgoing address here should match the outgoing address here, and it does. So now you have a static egress IP address, which is normally not something you can achieve on GCP unless you have cloud NATing active, or if you would like to route all your traffic through one virtual machine, which probably is not the most robust and redundant system you can have. So this more or less concludes the tutorial. I hope it was useful. It took me a long time to do this, and have a nice day. Bye bye.